Hi, this is Swati and Guru, and we bring to you our Tingsha Talks. Tingsha Talks are everyday conversations about anything under the sun. What is Tingsha? Tingsha are small symbols used to make a sound by striking them together, and they're used by Buddhist monks and in Tibet, and the sound is used for healing and also clearing the atmosphere. Today's talk is about vision and visioning. Hello, Guru. How are you doing today?
Hi Swati, very good evening. Thank you. This is a wonderful topic, Swati. I think everybody talks about visioning and the value of vision today, more so in the professional world of late. For instance, most of the technology companies and even the traditional sector verticalized companies talk a lot about what you call as streamlined and formal visioning initiatives and visioning programs every once a year or once in a couple of years. And I would think it has kind of been inherited from the personal and the spiritual history of vision and visioning. And it seems to have caught on in a big way in the professional world. So thank you. This is a wonderful topic, and I would love to shoot a couple of questions across to you and seek your thoughts on where do you think visioning is going and what should we be doing in terms of the appropriate way of doing the visioning process. Are you game, Swati?
Sure, Guru. And everything that happens today first begins in the mind. So I think we need to start with the vision first. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Swati. So here comes the first one, aside from that wonderful vision there. So what exactly does vision mean? It means so many different things to so many different people, and you can see the screen populating there with a variety of thoughts that we had kind of picked up in our stray conversations between us. So how do you define vision? And does vision mean different things to different people, or is there an essential common thread of understanding as far as vision is concerned across the board? Thank you.
Vision could mean different things to different people. So I will just tell you what it means to me. So to me, it is like a picture of the future. It's a picture in the mind about what is it that you really want. And it can be very personal, like it can be a vision for self. It can be for the company or the organization that you're working for. It can be for the country or even the world. Vision is something that is not some where we don't even think of, is it possible? Is it feasible? It's just like a blueprint, and it could be as crazy as when a man would have thought about going to the moon, or the Wright brothers could have thought about flying. So it could be anything really.
Interesting. Thanks, Swati. Do you think visioning is all about picturing the future, or could vision also mean sustaining something that's already good and we are happy with? For instance, an organization might be functioning really well. They may have very satisfied and maybe delighted customers. Their market reach may be good. Their employees may be super happy. Do you think visioning could also mean sustaining something that's good today for tomorrow's world?
So visioning is ideally about transformation, about looking at something in the future. And yes, even if an organization is doing extremely well, and anyone can think about what is it that they want to do, let's say 10 years from now, really future, it could be even 50 years from now. What is it that they want to do? And it is also sometimes good to set a reset button, whether for our lives personally or the organization itself, and then think about where does the organization want to go 20 years down the line.
Understood, Swati. So, indeed, now that we have some kind of a common understanding of what vision means to us and probably vision means to many different people across the planet, let me come back to you with another thought, which is my own personal view, to be honest. And that seems to be the the view that I carry, that visioning is in some sort of a crisis mode in especially the corporate world in contemporary times. The reason I would quote in support of that view would be that most organizations seem to be getting their visioning stuff wrong. Especially considering some of the spectacular debacles and some of the real kind of churn stories that we are hearing about large global organizations almost every day in the press these days. Of course, for every a large organization that's coming into the news for all the wrong reasons, there is also a good organization that's coming in for the right reasons. So, what's your view on the so-called crisis that I seem to be seeing as far as visioning is concerned? Do you agree there is a crisis, or is it probably the truth is probably somewhere else? Thank you.
I don't really see it as a crisis, Guru, because simply because of the fact that we've been transforming at a very, very fast pace. And the kind of things that we've seen, the changes in the lifestyle that we've seen, the technology breakthroughs that we've seen, they wouldn't have been possible unless someone somewhere was, creating a vision or having a vision about it. Also, in personal life, you don't really get a vision when you're really agitated or in a crisis situation. In my experience and what I think is that only when you're calm, you are receptive, and that's when you have a vision. I'm not talking about only the spiritual masters or the great scientists for that matter, but you really have to have a very, very clear picture. And the clarity comes in, I think, only when there is some kind of uh, receptiveness or a very fertile ground created, in our minds. So, well, I think we have a lot of technology and a lot of transformations in the last couple of years, don't you think? So there must be some good amount of visioning taking place.
Right, you have kind of opened my eyes to the correct perspective. Thank you, Swati. It's very true indeed that we have had some really big tectonic changes and transformational kind of initiatives that have been given wings to in many organizations, not just corporate, not just in the corporate world, but also in probably large governmental and non-governmental organizations and even entire countries and regions within the world. So yes, I do think you have a point there, especially seeing, for instance, the kind of transformation that's happening in Africa, on the African continent. You see quite a lot of infrastructure projects, and if one were to, for instance, kind of dig into some of those wonderful LinkedIn posts that come from the middle of the heart of Africa, you see so much of hope, so much of optimism, so much of drive, so much of hard work, and so many critical problems and struggles of life being resolved or being attempted to be resolved with a lot of technology and with a lot of innovation and transformation. So yes, you did open my eyes there. Thank you. Which brings me to the next obvious and evident follow-up question. You see three blank circles there. It's an open table there for you to take over. What do you think are the top three vital ingredients of the visioning process? Of course, you could go to the top four or five if you wish to, but in my mind, I seem to have a hazy picture of it. Would you mind adding a bit of some sort of a perspective that will help clarify things for me? Thank you.
I can make an attempt. So the three things, vital ingredients of vision, I think, and this is not in any priority, but first thing I think is clarity. One has to have clarity about where one wants to be or wants to take the organization, or how do you see yourself, X number of years down the line. So clarity is number one. Then I think the second one is a belief that anything is possible. So you're open and hopeful and believe maybe something, not even thinking about is it feasible, and no doubts in the mind. So there is possibility. And a third thing is a lot of tremendous confidence. So because once we have a vision, there will be a lot of voices, right? Someone saying our own voices, or maybe somebody else's voices who can influence the vision. But standing firm on the vision, I think that's the third, and that comes from confidence. So these are the three ingredients that I think. What do you think about it?
Yes, indeed, Swati. I just have probably a fourth point that I would like to add. It is to do with the fact that there are probably two, aspects to the visioning process, or two types of visioning that I can see based on what you just described as the three vital ingredients. Uh, you know, I would think there could be two different kinds of triggers to a vision. One could be, something like an event-driven vision, some kind of a circumstance or some kind of a scenario that an entity is at one place in time that leads to the igniting of a vision for the future. Whereas there is probably the other one, the pioneering visioning part, where somebody thinks of altogether something new in his or her mind and gives wings to that vision and gets it to realization. I can think of probably two instances that I can think of that I can relate to, which will fall into the second category. Steve Jobs, of course, everybody knows Steve Jobs. God bless him and may he rest in peace. So he thought of every man having a smartphone, and nobody probably at the time that he envisioned even had an idea as to what a smartphone would be and what it would lead to. And for all you know, somebody must be watching it, or many hundreds of folks must be watching this on their smartphones in the airports and wherever it is. And the second example that I can think of would probably be,
And
go ahead,
on that
Swati.
Steve Jobs notes, I think what he really said to his daughter was, "I'd like to put songs in your pocket," and I think that was the vision.
Right. What a wonderful vision that is, and we all know where that led us to, and we are a blessed planet, and is left behind something far more enriching for all of us to partake of. Thank you indeed. And the second example, coming back to where I left off, is Salman Khan of the Khan Academy. He had a vision that the highest quality of education at all levels, including university level, should be available absolutely free of cost across every nook and corner of the planet, and should be technologically enabled in such a way that every child or every youth, every young person anywhere across the world, despite any kinds of underprivileged circumstances he or she may be in, should have access to high quality and the highest quality of education. And here we go today, where people have been coming out of the Khan Academy, very erudite people walking shoulder and shoulder with some of the best brains across, some of the Ivy Leagues and the most reputed of global organizations today. So, do you think, would you agree that there are these two possible visioning possibilities or opportunities, one being, the one that is triggered by an event versus the one that's altogether thought up, as some kind of a completely transformational, original visioning process a person with the highest levels of thinking and probably altruistic goals?
So indeed, there are two types. One, what you call as a structured visioning exercise, that is undertaken usually at the corporate, when it's a professional group of people who think about what is it that we want to do next for the organization, and that can be done as a brainstorming session. It's not just one person's idea. And the second one is what we can call wishful thinking, by some, but sometimes it is actually seeking solution to a problem, which is not for their, just it impacts them, but it impacts the whole world at large. And they're actually seeking a very innovative solution to the problem. So yeah, there are two kinds, I think. And now there is a third kind that is taking place, and as you see, some companies and some of our companies as well, what they're trying to do is something called a crowd visioning, right? They are asking people, everyone, all the employees, for opinion on what is it that they would like to see the company do 50 years from now. So I think it's a wonderful exercise to be done.
Right, which brings me to the next question that you see popped up over the screen there. You talked, I think, about structured visioning and the value of structured visioning and the value of collective visioning wherever possible, when of course done the right way. Do you think there's a case for, getting outside help for the visioning process? Would there be somebody called as the visioning expert who can think it through on our behalf? Because not all of us are probably gifted visionaries. So, what would you advise corporate leaders who might be struggling with the visioning exercise to do by way of seeking assistance, maybe formal, professional assistance, expert assistance from what you would call as visionaries on hire? Do you think that's a thing that's going to catch on if it has not already caught on, or do you think there can be certain pluses and minuses around it? Thank you.
So, visionaries on hire, I don't know, but I think there is a certain amount of facilitation that can be done. Yes, you're right. We are not all gifted visionaries. We do have vision, but sometimes what happens is a lot of our visions are wasted because we carry a lot of our baggage. There is the fear of failure. Then we start trying to rationalize and think whether it's possible, feasible, and so on. Well, it does help, to have a third party. You can outsource the facilitation of visioning exercise to the third party, where they can help the organization or even a person for that matter, help and provide clarity on what is it that the company wants to do, or what is it that the person wants to do or see himself so many years down the line. So they can facilitate and bring in clarity to the thought. They can facilitate and look at it from, because there is no baggage that they bring in. It's an outside view. But what they cannot do, and really, is you cannot outsource the visioning in itself. Like, what you want to see yourself or the organization is your own thought. So that has to be the person's idea or the person's vision. But facilitator can remove blocks, definitely, yes.
Okay, that's an interesting and very enlightening piece of information that you shared there. If I have understood right, it's important to see the value of structured visioning process, and if you can't do the structured visioning all by yourself, outsource the governance and the steering of the process of visioning to the experts, whereas you get to own the visioning itself. Is that right?
That's correct. We have to think about ourselves, otherwise there is a certain amount of passion that is required, a certain amount of drive that is to be associated with the vision. And the people who are going to carry out the vision need to resonate with it. So it has to be your own.
Understood. Okay, here comes the most common suspect as far as realities go. Be it be somebody being available for visioning, a lot of funding and structure being put in place, experts getting all over the place every day to help you with the visioning process, getting your visioning right. But what happens if you can't execute it well? So, turning the question the other way around, what, Swati, would you think would be the key steps towards successful execution? Execution is probably the single most often used word across sectors, across entities, and the value of execution has never been overemphasized. Not in our times, because we do see some of those grand projects and grand visions falling off the chair, falling off the table sometime during the journey. So what do you think, Swati, would be the key steps for successful execution of the visioning process,
So,
of course?
yeah, so Guru, like any other thing, for a visioning to actually take to execution, I think what we need are goals, both long term and short term, as to how is it that we are. Because when you vision, you don't think about how you're going to get there. But once you have a vision, then we need to plan and see how is it that I'm going to get there in short term and in the long term. So you set goals. And of course, they have to be realistic goals, and then you have stretch goals to take yourself there. Second thing is it has to be communicated, especially for an organization when we need employees, supporters. Every employee needs to resonate with the vision. They need to believe in it. So communication is very important. Then, of course, the three critical things that are needed for risk taking when you embark on something which is transformational. First is we need to invest time, effort, and money. So all of these investments, and they are all part of risk taking. So that has to be done. And last but not the least, relentless pursuit. We achieve the vision. So I think these are at least some of the steps that can be taken for from vision to realization.
Right, and one would possibly look at the standard program management approach, as we call it in the industry, where you go all the way from vision, get to a mission statement, which helps us realize the vision and some kind of an overall mission that the organization is galvanized to gear up and kind of work to, and then get to the the what you call as the grand orchestrated strategy, the plan, the program in itself with its goals and objectives, and
And
of
then the
course the
stretch
successful
goals.
and the stretch goals, and you know the works, and then get it all to a program management kind of an approach. Get people in, as you rightly said, because people are the at the heart of any execution. If you get your people wrong, or if you set the wrong expectations, or if people don't work together seamlessly, then I guess execution is seriously risk. Would you agree?
Yes, you got it right. So that brings me to another question, if I may ask you. Is the vision only about expanding and or growing, or is it also about shrinking and getting lean? So
Right.
just
So,
wanted to get your thoughts on that.
yes, I just paraphrased your question there. So, in my view, Swati, the classic case that you have quoted over there, Meg Whitman and the story of HP Enterprise. I think Meg came with a single-minded vision of getting HP to its good days by making it leaner and meaner and basically downsizing it. And I think history has vindicated her vision, and HP Enterprise now stands very well in the marketplace. They seem to be doing pretty good stuff, cutting edge stuff that HP has always been, proverbially, kind of recognized for, esteemed about. And I think, yes, visioning can be about cutting down our ambitions. Vision can be about making people happier by maybe, looking at reducing the ambitious goals that one might have earlier set, and we realized somewhere down the path that we have gotten a bit over ambitious. Vision can also be about something as simple as selling off a big house and getting to a smaller house. If one were to look at a personal vision, because somebody might want to say, I want my children to study in the best of universities, and if that means I have to kind of move out from a big house, take it out of my box and get into a smaller house, I will do it to get to the other vision of getting my children educated well. So yes, in my view, I think expanding or growing is not the only type of vision. It can be also about leaning down. What do you say?
Correct. Vision can be about anything, and vision can also be about, focusing on core competencies. So if that means, getting lean, shrinking, and whatever it's right. So basically, it's where do we want to see ourselves, so many years down the line, and how do we want to see ourselves there? So it's about that.
Yes, in fact, the allied story in the technology world would be that many large companies have moved away from outsourcing back into insourcing their staff, building their own capabilities, building their own IT organizations, simply because I guess the outsourcing story got a bit oversold at some places, and people tended to kind of put all their faith in outsourcing everything under the sun as far as IT was concerned. Obviously, many companies realized that may not be the best approach, and some large organizations have even gone so far as to get the whole thing back into their house again. So yes, which brings me to probably the one last question that kind of haunts me on a daily basis, Swati. Is visioning something that's innate? Is it in the genes? Is it inherited? Or is visioning something that you can train yourself to be good at? Now, this is the typical question, the kind of the question that all social scientists and all human behavioral scientists have spoken about in many different areas, not just about visioning. That some skills are innate, they are acquired, they are in the genes, whereas many of the other skills can be acquired. So, what's your view on this, Swati?
Very good question, Guru, and worth thinking about and discussing this. Yes, some of us are very natural visionaries. Some of our great leaders have been very good visionaries. They have been able to see very clearly years into the future. But there are a lot of us who lack the ability to vision. And maybe it's because, like the things I said earlier, there are some of us who don't believe in possibilities, or we do not have the kind of drive that is needed. So a fertile ground is not there in our mind because everything begins in our mind. And also lack of confidence and self-esteem. But yes, people can be trained. All of us can be trained if we want to get into visionaries. That's where facilitation can help. And then, the some of the qualities and the attributes that we would need, because a lot of us are able to vision. So there's no, lack of capability there. But a lot of the visions are wasted because at times we don't have the drive, we don't have the discipline, to just work on the things that we vision about. So I think yes, it can be trained. What do you think?
I would tend to partially, agree with you on that, Swati. I think there is a lot of value that has been, that is certainly there in training oneself in doing visioning as some kind of a capability that one can acquire. But probably it has something to do with some of those innate portions of the human cognitive ability, the ability to think deeper. I think obviously the human thinking is different at different planes, depending upon circumstances, depending upon a variety of other external and probably internal neurological, call it psychological aspects behind it. So I think that probably in my mind the truth is somewhere in between. It's maybe partly inherent, but largely honed up with a lot of training. Having said that, I would certainly agree that somebody who is seriously challenged in doing any kind of visioning work can still be with a lot of effort trained to do it. So the kind of, I don't know if I'm controverting myself there, but that's my take on it. Which brings us probably to the one slide that we want to leave you with, everyone, for every one of you there, folks. There you see all the faces that have changed the face of history in some way or the other. I leave you with that wonderful quote of Florence Nightingale there. I attribute my success to this. I never gave or took any excuse.
Yeah, that's the grit and determination, right? It's the relentless pursuit, believing in it and having the confidence to see it through. So I think all the leaders who did make it happen, and today we see them because they believed in their vision and they worked towards it.
Absolutely, Swati. Every one of them. And I think one thing, if I were to add in conclusion about visionaries that have transformed our lives, our world for our future, it is their ability to connect with everyone around them in a very empathetic and humane way. Would you agree?
Yes, certainly I would. because it's visioning is very, very important, I think. And just going back to some of the things that we discussed about inculcating those attributes, values, and discipline. Maybe our younger generation, we can train them, train people early enough.
Indeed, Swati, great. Thank you. And there is one, what would I call it? Kind of a teaser for you there, for all of you there, folks who have been hearing us out for the last few minutes. Check out Lata Kare and her wonderful story. You will see inspiration that can leave you certainly in a far more determined state of mind after you read her, unbelievable saga of will and vision. Thank you, Swati, and
Thank
I
you.
and yes, indeed, thank you. It was a wonderful evening, Swati, and I think we should do more of this. Yeah.
Yes, Guru. I think we should continue to have our conversations like we usually do, and then maybe share them with others as well.
Absolutely. And for those of you who sat through this one, our grateful thanks, and we shall certainly be glad to receive your comments. Bouquets and brickbats both welcome, and we shall try our best to come back to you. And if you have any thoughts you would like to share about topics that we can cover, certainly come back to us, and we'll try our best to get them covered in some of the future sessions. Thank you, Swati, and thank you, folks. Have a wonderful day wherever you are on the
Thank
planet.
you.
Thank
Have a
you.
lovely day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.